phenomenal seminar podcast for you today. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of the cast and knowing how to cast and how to pick out the best bait and how to place your bait in the right spot. So kick back and get ready. That's what we're going to be talking about today, but we'll also be answering questions. If people send in some questions while we're out here, we'll see what happens. I'm sorry we're going a little bit late, but I was out fishing all day today, so we got some cool fish to show you. We're going to be posting up some good videos across all social media for fishing up here in Lopez Mateos again. But just wanted to welcome you all to the show and thank you all for paying attention the last couple nights. Justin out there catching lobsters live from out on the water in Long Beach, LA Harbor. How spectacular is that show? It is so much fun to watch. Hey, Tim, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you, everybody. I know this is kind of dinner time at home, so I want to thank y'all for watching us. And hopefully we have a pretty good show, and we won't let you down today. We'll be entertaining. But thank you all very, very much for watching. The last two nights have been incredible. I think last night, the final number was 17,000 watched minutes. I think people are into this hoop netting thing and watching it. It's kind of cool to watch it and see what it's all about so that you have a better idea what it's going to be like when you go out on the boat that night. This has never been done before. So if you haven't seen what we're talking about, gang, we're going live across all social media now. 2 or 3 nights a week in Long Beach, LA Harbor, hoop netting, catching lobsters. It's pretty fun to watch. People are paying the price to go with us. They're buying a ticket to come on the boat and go lobster fishing with Justin. Boat Trail up in Long Beach Harbor on Real Adventure, Bowline Sportfishing. He's putting together some spectacular content too. The live shows are incredible. Tim, Darren, don't you guys think it's so fun to just watch? Pop in, pop out, do whatever as your day goes on. It's way better than watching Kneel Down Sports Gang. It's all fun. Justin's explaining to you exactly what's going on out on the water the whole night while they're out fishing, while they're catching lobsters and the crabs. And last night he caught that swell shark 3 times. Could you believe that? That thing ended up same little swell shark. It's not like there's a lot of swell sharks in Long Beach Harbor. So I'm thinking that one silly little shark, they would take him out of the net, let him go, and he'd swim right down and go back into another net. They ended up letting him go on that last set, which was kind of anti-productive. Things really looked like they were going to crawl good, and then it kind of shut down. But you know what? At the end of the night, he had 21 lobsters up to about 3.5 pounds. So it was a great night. Especially if you got to be one of those people that got to take home one of those beautiful lobster tails. Nothing better than the Southern California spiny lobster tail. Gosh, are they good. Hey, John, thanks for joining us. To everybody, thanks for joining us today on the show. I want to thank you all for all the support. We're talking about the live show that Justin's been doing the last couple nights out hoop netting. But we're really going to get into talking about how good Opsin Fluorocarbon works for the type of fishing I like to do. I'm up here fishing in Lopez Mateos. I've been up here for 3 days. My good buddy Mark and I are driving home tomorrow, back down to Cabo from up here at Lopez Mateos. It's in Magdalena Bay on the Baja Peninsula, and it's just absolutely spectacular. It's so beautiful down here. And we are having a really good time fishing, but I wanted to talk to everybody about what it's like down here. This is an aerial shot of the bushes there. When that tide's moving at that speed, the fish really get into the mode of feeding. And if you can put your live mullet or live sardine or live jack smelt right on the edge of those roots on a fly line bait with some Opsin. I was using 35-pound Opsin fluorocarbon every day for the last 3 days, tied to a piece of 65-pound braid on my 9-foot heavy PCH rod from Akuma with my Tesoro 5 narrow reel in 65-pound braided line, and that fluorocarbon makes all the difference in the world. I was using this Opsin fluorocarbon, gang. This stuff is so good for fishing in the mangroves down here. It is just an incredible product. If you think about those roots here, let's look at this picture again. If you think about the roots of that plant, the way they hang down there, they're covered in oysters. So that if that fish even touches it, it breaks your line instantly. We're using this Opsin fluorocarbon, and I'm telling you, it's abrasion resistant like you can't even believe. I was hitting those roots over and over and over again today, and I probably would catch 10, 15 fish out of whack before I'd have to retie my hook. It was that good. And we were catching fish. Like, here we go. This is a big pompano.
How big do you think, Ruben? ¿Cuánto peso?
We were catching those guys in like 3 to 5 feet of water, casting live mullet onto the roots of those mangrove systems. It was incredible, but it really has to do with the line and the way you can cast. You have to be able to lay that bait right in on the roots of the mangroves, which I just showed you in that picture. But if you could hit that, and you'd be shocked when you hit that root and that bait just starts to swim a little bit right on the edge of that root, you have no idea what's coming out of those bushes. We caught pargo, we caught halibut, we caught orangemouth corvina, we caught snook, we caught broomtail grouper, we caught Cabrera snapper, we caught what they call the pargo snapper down here. We caught so many different varieties of fish, all fly lining on the edge of those mangroves. It was absolutely incredible. And then we finished the day off fishing for these in about 20 feet of water every day. We would stop and use live shrimp, fishing with a sliding sinker, an 80-pound, or excuse me, I was using a dropper loop, an 80-pound Opsin fluorocarbon, fishing little wrecks all through the mangroves on the outside in the channels, and we're catching these nice broomtail grouper. So Opsin is a must to have. It absolutely saved me on this trip. I can't tell you how happy I am with this product and how it stood up with those oyster shells, and every one of those fish we caught have just gnarly teeth, and the Opsin held up just fine. So gang, we have that same contest we have every month. If you guys jump on that QR code for the Opsin fluorocarbon, you don't even have to purchase the product. Just jump it on there. We can pick your name out of a hat. Elliot gives us all the names every month, and we pick a name out of the hat, and you win a free spool of Opsin fluorocarbon on the first of every month. This month, it's January 1st. Whoa, it's going to be a New Year spool of line. And when you go to Opsin, hold on a second. When you're on there, you grab that QR code. You're going to save 20%. Or when you go on the website without using the QR code, when you're checking out, just put in the YSWG, the code, and that'll get you 20% off. Also, that'll get you an opportunity to win the bag or the free spool of line from Opsin on the 1st. All right, gang. So let's get back into talking what we were talking about. Fly lining. I've done this podcast a couple of times. I haven't probably done it in a year. That how important it is to know what fly lining is. Fly lining is when you tie your hook to the end of your fluorocarbon leader. No beads, no swivels, no split shots, no drop shots, nothing at all but a hook that is thin wired and sized to match your bait. Now, we had mullet anywhere from 2 inch, inch and a half long to like 4-inch or 5-inch mullet. And I'll tell you, if we didn't have a bunch of different hooks, this wouldn't have happened. One bait, we'd have a rod with a number 2 hook on it. The next bait, we'd have a 4-aught hook on it. You didn't know what bait because you're throwing the net, catching the bait down here, and then you're taking whatever bait that is, and then you're casting it in on the edge of those mangroves. So that's why it's important. Like I always say on all my videos on the website, yoursaltwaterguide.com, and when I'm on the radio shows and whatever, or I'm doing seminars in front of you, we're always talking about everything matters. So knowing that you have enough hooks to cover your day is super important. You have to match your hook to the size of your bait. So when we always say everything matters, we mean everything. You better have enough hooks. You better have the right fluorocarbon for what you're doing. Fishing in the mangroves, heavier, 35, 40 pound. We're fishing in sometimes a foot of water. And you have like a thousandth of a second to stop that pargo or stop that snook from getting you into those oysters on there. So you want to make sure you got the right line and the right hook. And then the casting, none of this could be done if you didn't know how to cast to the edge of those roots. And then when the bait is swimming on the edge of those roots, so many times if you're not watching, your bait could swim onto the mangrove root or it could swim around the mangrove root. It's very frustrating. It's very hard. It's not an easy fishery. But if you keep spot casting and getting that bait to land in there with no weight, and some of the bait was as small as my pinky finger, and some of the bait was as long as my hand. So it just, you didn't know, but you had to be able to cast everyone in there to the edge. That's why we talk so much about castability of your rods and reels, because it super matters. Everything matters. If you're going to be successful fishing on spots, I don't care if you're in Florida, Montana, California, fly fishing, you got to be accurate with your cast. Spin fishing, you got to be accurate with your cast. And fly line and baits, you got to be accurate with your cast. A lot of old-time fishermen like myself, we grew up fishing with anchovies. That's what we had for bait. There were no sardines. We had anchovies, gang. That's all we had. There were not sardines. I know it's hard for anybody to believe, but there was no sardines at the bait barge. If you wanted bigger bait, you had to catch it. So that's how we learned how to cast. We could cast a broomstick with an anchovy. And when I say broomstick, a short, thick rod that doesn't bend, but we learned how to cast. Nowadays, people just don't remember how to cast that light bait. And that's where the disconnect happens with your catching and with watching. If you can figure out how to cast a piece of line with a hook on it, with nothing else on it, you'll be a very good caster. Todd Manser does a seminar where he takes a 4/0 mustad hook and he ties it to the end of his line. He stands on stage and he casts it over and over and over again. It's a hook on a conventional reel, and he casts it over and over and over again because why? He grew up casting anchovies. It's super important though to learn how to cast. You guys can join my website, yoursaltwaterguide.com. I can give you everything you need to be successful, but I cannot teach you how to cast. I can show you how I cast, but I cast different than the next guy that's really good at casting does. It's what works for you, and I can't teach it. I can't teach you how to fillet a fish. I cannot teach you how to cast a conventional reel or a spinning reel. I can't teach you, but I can show you how I do it. But you need to go out and practice. You need to practice in your backyard. You need to practice on a bridge around your house. You need to practice on your boat tied up to the dock. You need to go down there and you need to practice, practice, practice. If you want to be successful every time you go fishing, it's the people that are able to do everything right that are successful every time. And casting is, man, if you watch videos, I don't care if it's Florida, like I said before, Florida, Wyoming, California, Australia, the guys that are knocking the crap out of the fish, they are pinpoint accuracy casting over and over and over again, day in and day out, day in and day out. That's how you can be good. I hear it's going to be an El Nino this year. There's going to be a lot of rain. regardless. It's time to practice casting. The more rain that we have, the more rough weather we have, the better time it's going to be for you to learn. Cast, cast, cast. I stood on the bow of the Clemente or the Sum Fun when I was a little kid and cast it and cast it and cast it. And I cast it at home in my backyard. And I'd get big giant backlashes. And my dad owned San Clemente Sport Fishing at the time on the end of the San Clemente Pier. And he had, as a little kid, I just thought he had hundreds of reels because I would see all the rental rods every day. And I would just, and he would make me pick every backlash out. And he would tell me, if you cut that line, I'm not giving you any more line. And I'd be like, what an A. What an A. My dad is, really, I got to pick this backlash out before because he's not going to buy me any line. Because I would just cut it with a knife and then go get one of the other reels, not knowing it was a rent reel, and crank that line on my reel. I didn't know. I was a dumb little kid. But when my dad put his foot down and made me learn how to get the backlash out and then cast another time and cry and stand in the backyard and pick the backlash out and do it again and again, I wanted to learn how to cast so bad because if everybody I knew growing up that I looked up to, let's be honest, gang, I've been in this fishing industry since I was 3 years old. My dad owned a bunch of sport fishing boats off the end of the San Clemente Pier, gang. I grew up on boats fishing. That's how I grew up since I was a baby. I used to go out with my dad all the time, and then I started working on the boats when I was 14. And I'll tell you what, the only thing I wanted to learn was how to cast, because everybody I looked up to, they were phenomenal casters. They could throw that anchovy, get a bite, lickety split, throw their bait on the edge of the kelp, get a bite, throw their bait in on a boiler rock, get a bite, whatever. And it would just piss me off because I could not cast. So I would spend hours in the backyard or hours on the bow of the Clemente or the Some Fun, picking backlashes out and crying. I can get a backlash out pretty dang quick now, pretty darn fast. I worked on sport boats for so long. Plus, I was an expert at picking them out when I was a little kid because I got so many of them. So don't get discouraged if you're getting backlashes. And the reels today are way smoother than the reels we learned on. So the spool's going to go and go and go. You've got to figure it out. You got to learn how to cast, or you can get a spinning rod and reel outfit until you learn how to master the conventional reel. Now, I don't know. A lot of us don't have time because we have that job thing going on. So get yourself a really good spinning rod and reel outfit. Don't worry about it. It's not like it was back in the 60s and 70s. They're not coffee grinders anymore. Most spinning reels cost hundreds of dollars. They're not your grandma or grandpa's spinning reel anymore. So don't be all weirded out because West Coast all fishes with conventional reels. You still want to catch a fish when you go fishing. So master the cast of casting the spinning reel. It's still about accuracy. You can cast the living bejesus out of a spinning rod and reel. But if it doesn't go where you want it to go, the chance of getting a bite are slim and none. If you're standing on the beach, casting as far out as you can, and then putting your rod in a rod holder and watching, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the guys that are fishing hard, looking for the crease or looking for the crack in the surf or in the beach and hitting them, bam, 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 and walking down the beach. But if you're just casting, yeah, cast it out a mile. Doesn't matter where it lands, and sit there and wait for a fish to come along and jingle your bell. That's rad. I like that. Everybody's got a different way of fishing. I'm a hunter. I want to bang, 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 bang the spots, but it's all about castability. You've got to be able to hit the spots. That's what I'm talking about when I said I'm not the long caster on the spinning rod waiting for a surf fish to swim by. I'm the guy, pinpoint accuracy, hit that edge of that kelp, hit that rock, hit that left side of the rock, the right side of the rock, the back of the rock, the front of the rock, then go to the next spot, throw the baits. And it's just like throwing lures. You're casting it at the thing, at the structure, or at the kelp, or at whatever, or you're throwing out a boil. Let's just say a bunch of tuna came up behind your boat. You want to cast right to where they're all jumping out of the water. It's all about pinpoint accuracy if you want to get bit every single time. That's why I wanted to talk to you today about making sure you have a rod on the boat that you can cast. You can't expect your friends or family to be able to cast, but you should have a rod on the boat that you, as the owner, are you, as the captain, have a rod that you can cast so that you can always hook a fish for anybody on the boat and hand them the rod. It's all about being able to cast, though. So if you can't cast a conventional reel, get a spinning rod or reel. You're not going to get judged anymore. Those days are long gone. Get that, make it happen. Yeah. Oh, Justin's going to be live again tomorrow night. Holy moly. Hey, everybody. I'm sorry that we're down here in Lopez Mateos, and the comments just came back on. I don't know. But yeah, clothespin, Dave Hill, you're absolutely right. That's what we all used to rub. My dad got me a bunch of rubber sinkers. They were just pretty much look like a torpedo sinker, but they were made out of rubber, and you could bounce them off car windows and stuff. Yes, you did, Jason. Thanks for that great write-up, too. That was cool. That was real cool. And you got your legal halibut. How spectacular is that? Just by simply following a game plan. Hey, cool, Justin. That's going to be awesome. I was going to bring Justin on the show live tonight, but he didn't answer my phone call. Wow, Justin. So look, it's super important to figure out this casting thing. I cannot emphasize it enough, gang. If you want to be successful when you go fishing, learn how to cast. So many people always want to know, what's the secret to this thing? Well, casting is a big one. The guy that works, I was thinking about this today when me and my buddy Mark were fishing and catching it. We're working the whole time. There's never a time where we're stopping, sitting down, relaxing. We're working the whole time. We're casting. We're changing hooks. We're casting. We're casting. We're getting another bait. If the bait doesn't swim, get a new bait. Change your bait. Change your luck. Changing your bait all the time is super important. But if you change your bait and you don't know how to cast it, it doesn't really matter. But you got to change your bait so that your bait swims. And if you can figure out on the boat, look around, who's getting bit the most, he's the person that's being the most active, changing their bait, changing their hooks, casting into the edge of the weeds or casting into the edge of the mangroves, catching some cool fish. The guy that works the hardest is always going to be the guy or the gal that catches the fish. Whoever works the hardest. I just trying, John. I don't want to let anybody down. I wanted to make sure I got the show in today. Ray, I love the Akuma series. I love the Akuma series. I love the Tesoro. I love the Cortez. Both of those reels are phenomenal for learning how to cast, for starting out with a good conventional reel. But I fish with them every single day. So not so much a starter, but they're reasonably priced. You can get one. I can get one. The castability is phenomenal. And you're not going to have to take a second out on your house to get a fishing reel. Yeah, you had a heck of a week, Jason. Incredible. Limits of lobsters with Pablo. We got to get that boy we got to get Pablo to start doing these live shows like Justin does, right, Justin? We need to try to get that going. So Pablo, work at that. No, we didn't see any gray whales down here, Donna. There's no gray whales in the lagoon. No, there's no whales in the lagoon, as a matter of fact. Yeah, Ray, you can call me too if you want, and I'll tell you all about it. 949-374-0786 after the show. If you want to give me a call, we can talk about those reels, and I'll help you out, send you in the right direction anyway. But gang, do yourself, do me, do everybody that fishes with you a favor and learn how to cast. I can't emphasize it enough. Learn how to cast. Everything I did today wouldn't have been possible if I didn't know how to cast. It would have been really boring if I was just on a boat and didn't know how to cast today. None of this magic stuff that we did all for 3 days would have been happening if we didn't have the ability to cast. And I hear a lot of people say they can cast. But if you can't cast accurately to whatever you're casting to, then you're not you can't cast. So you got to practice. Don't sit there and go, oh, I can cast. Really? Think about it. I mean, you got to practice. Practice, practice, practice. All right. Thanks, John Stanley. Yeah, everybody that usually, all the OGs are hanging. There's a lot of, there's getting to be a lot now. There's like 30 of us. Look at us. But thank you very much, everybody, for always watching. And now that we got a bunch of you on here and I got Justin on here, how spectacular was the last 2 nights watching Justin out there? Right? Was that incredible? Justin, you make it so exciting and so fun. Because everything's, I think it's like me. Everything's so exciting. Every lobster is like your very first lobster. I don't care how big they are. You're like me. It's a lobster, and we caught it, and we caught it live. How cool is that, gang? It was so fun to watch, and the amount of hours that have been watched is absolutely incredible. Oh, we got a lot of stuff, Darren. I got a lot of stuff. The pier was incredible the last 3 days. Everybody fishing on the pier down here was just killing it. Off the pier, they were catching everything. There's a concrete pier. I put it out on my social media 10 times. There's a concrete pier down here in Lopez Mateos, and it was biting. They were catching orange mouth corvina, spotted bay bass, pargo, robalo. They caught everything on the pier. It was just crazy to watch. And no reels or rods, hand lines wrapped around a piece of cardboard. Absolutely incredible. So you got to watch that. I've got a lot of that on video. Guys are just wailing on them. They don't even want to use a fishing pole. They're phenomenal at it with their hand. Crazy, right? Crazy.
There's only one way to do this.
So tomorrow's show is going to be at 12 o'clock. Tomorrow's going to be Promar Ahi USA Tuesday. We're going to talk about some Promar products. Then on Wednesday and Thursday, Kelly will do, or Bill Varney's joining me on Wednesday. We're going to talk more about what's going on. What is the Department of Fish and Wildlife want to close now? Hang on. Wednesday we'll talk about it. There's more baloney coming down the pipe. What they want to do to the halibut right now is absolutely incredible. We'll talk all about that on Wednesday with Bill Varney. Don't miss that show. Then we got Kelly Girl on Thursday, and then we got Luke McFadden on Friday. We're bringing Luke back. He hasn't been with us for about 10 months, but he was on the show about 10 months ago. Luke's got a phenomenal following all over social media. If you haven't seen him, he's a professional crabber on Chesapeake Bay. This young man is one of the hardest working men I've ever seen. The kid never stops, and he's headed to big and phenomenal things, and he works his butt off catching crabs. He's got a phenomenal personality, and he's a little fishmonger, and he's got his hands in a lot of stuff. You're going to learn a lot about what's going on out there. He is just a wealth of information. So I'm happy that he's coming back with us on Friday. So don't miss that show, gang. And don't forget, grab your Opsin Fluorocarbon, because if you are at that point where you absolutely have to catch a fish, then it absolutely has to be Opsin. Don't not have this on your boat, gang, and have some different sizes, just like some different size hooks. Because we are fly lining baits today on the edge, and like I was talking about earlier, it's super important to match the hatch. Yeah, bat rays, lobsters, crabs, swell shark. I talked about it before you got on here. Caught that damn swell shark, the same one, 3 times. That guy wanted to go home with you bad. So I'm annihilated tired, to be perfectly honest with you. So I just wanted to jump on here and do a quick half hour, tell everybody everything's okay. Make sure you learn how to cast, because you want to do cool stuff like I just did. You want to learn how to cast. Thank you all for watching. Justin will be on with me tomorrow. Pablo will be on with me. We'll be going live at noon. Tune in, see what Justin and Pablo got going on. And then I guess Justin's got a trip tomorrow night now. That's crazy. I'm so happy. That's going to be insane. All right. Good night.